Welcome. Welcome to the 35th Chaos Communication Congress.
Good to see you.
We have to start with two announcements. First off, the two of us want to make this opening as good as we possibly can, so we need to do it in German. Sorry to everybody who doesn't speak German. We do have live translations in English and French, so if you look for translations in the wiki, you will find them and you will be provided with live translations by our awesome translation angels. Die zweite Ankündigung dient unserer rechtlichen Absicherung. Wir haben in den letzten Jahren in den Vorträgen ja gelernt, dass eure Gesichter personenbezogene biometrische Daten sind. Da wir von hier vorne einige eurer Gesichter erkennen können, ich würde so sagen, die ersten 10 oder was?
Ja, 10 Reihen.
Müssen wir euch darüber aufklären, dass wir euch halt sehen und eure Gesichter uns auch merken können. Und dass ihr uns gegenüber das Recht auf Löschung und das Recht auf Vergessen habt, gemäß der dieses Jahr in Kraft getretenen Europäischen Datenschutzgrundverordnung. Wenn ihr von diesem Recht Gebrauch machen wollt, würde ich euch bitten, euch einfach nach dem Opening in 2 Reihen hier vorne an der Bühne einzufinden.
Also die eine so hier in dem Gang, die andere da.
Eine für Rufus, eine für mich.
Ich nehme dann die längere Reihe.
Wenn alle da Beteiligten so einen Chunk mit nach vorne bringen, können wir euch garantieren, dass wir uns morgen an nichts mehr, schon gar nicht eure Gesichter erinnern.
Ja, schön, dass ihr da seid. Also jetzt, wo der Saal voll ist, wirkt der doch ein bisschen größer, oder?
Quite big, isn't it? Well, yeah, it's kind of big.
Ja, ein herzliches Willkommen an euch.
Warm welcome to all of you,
An die Damen und Herren, an den
to
Rundfunk.
the ladies and gentlemen listening in through the streaming from home,
Teilnehmerinnen und
and
Teilnehmer im Congress Everywhere,
to
die an
participants
Hackerspaces
who are
vielleicht
watching and listening from their desktop PCs at home or any hackerspace over the world.
Ja, wir machen das mal am besten so schnell.
And we're going to try to get this over with as quickly and painless as possible, kind of like a Band-Aid rip-off at the doctors. All right, so some of you had a brilliant year. We don't want to take that away from you. I mean, but all in all, oh, well, if you kind of look at the modern broadcasting systems, this year kind of seems like another additional, that we're kind of, I'm going to put this carefully, that we are in a bit of a difficult time. We had the state Trojan, the police is buying tanks. I mean, who doesn't want to drive a tank? We all had kind of our own personal pain points with that we had a few things happening in the chaos community that were happening under difficult circumstances, and that we also had a bit of a taste of what the new police laws are actually going to be meaning when they're implemented. The protest right now, of course, is something that we are trying to, like, that's very loud and that is very colorful, and it happens in chaos meetings and effort, and you did a great job on that, and these protests are seriously taking up creative shapes and forms, and we love seeing that. And I have to say that I kind of was a bit sad that the institution that in the last year was the most public about their position against the right usually sells Coca-Cola. So now this year is over, thankfully. The family festival where we have to fix other people's computers is over. Now it's Congress, great. This year's theme is refreshing memories. This would be a good point in time to start in a lovely lecture of history, but because Tim did that last year, we kind of want to give you an advice. How about you just look at it at Media CCC, and I'll just say this much. The first Congress happened in 1984, quite fittingly in Hamburg. We had about 200, 300 people participating. Now think about it and look around this room, 200, 300 people. And today we're here, 35 years later, we're still doing it. And above all, we are doing it more colorful, more diverse than ever before. The Congress is becoming so much more diverse and so much more thoughtful with every year. And the community is developing in the exact same way. And the family and the thought and all that still exists. And it's handmade with love. And all the angels that are here, and they're still volunteers that are all contributing their time and their free time, and they're not getting paid. And without them, this Congress would not be possible. And we're making this event happen where everyone, for 4 very crazy days, are allowed to basically do almost everything and anything. And we're still doing this together. For you, this will hopefully be a brilliant Congress with very unique experiences and memories that you're making. If with all the blinking lights you can focus for maybe 5 minutes. That's at least what it is for me. It's an accumulation of fascinating, crazy, stupid people who gather in this one place, this space, for 4 days will create the most crazy overstimulation that I've ever experienced. And this is what we do every year together. And together we're growing. I mean, obviously also we're getting taller. No, I mean in size. We're obviously not 200 people anymore. But we're also growing in really interesting directions. We have, for this year, new themes and topics. The Foundation Talks, which is a lecture series which gives a space to people who are absolute professionals in their area and who will present in an understandable yet very deep way. Like, for example, it starts with the internet and it goes to the hacker ethics. So I think this covers something for everyone. And there's a lot of experts, and then giving them a space and a stage to the people who really know what they're talking about, to give them a platform. That was the goal. And beyond that, we also have other topics that we are growing into as a chaos family quite well. We had a couple of weeks ago, for about like a month and a half ago, we had a conference called Bits and Trees, where parts of the hacker community came together with environmental activists, where we're trying to find the intersection between these two fields to work together and figure out how to create a society that's more sustainable, to create more sense for this world, and how we can make this planet get it maybe a little bit away from doomsday. And I find it great that there's people that are getting together and who are looking into new direction, and who can we talk to and maybe work with that is not within our bubble. We're growing in stages. I mean, there's another stage all of a sudden just grew. Last year 4 big stages, this year 5, poof, where there's great talks in amazing contributions that were put in. All these 5 stages, I mean, you can see them in the Fahrplan, and I mean, that's just only the official program. I mean, this wasn't enough this year, so they kind of bypassed us on the right side. We have a selection of decentralized stages, maybe 5. Please don't admit that we've lost count and the overview. I only call them small stages so that you can distinguish them from the main stages. I mean, like, I was standing in front of the stage in front of Chaos West, and that one isn't really very small, and it's so impressive that from within the community there's so much quality that's being brought and content that's being put out, that these stages were formed. That's just brilliant to see. And I mean, beyond that, we're also growing and on a very personal level. I mean, obviously, all of us are obviously growing personally, but also as a chaos community. In the past year, we took on the question how within the chaos community we can deal with conflicts. And people that have been part of the community for years got together to guarantee the security of the participants, and they got together and contributed so much of their time and strength and discussion and telephone conference calls. Yes, conference calls, you know, they're the best way of communicating with one another. And they worked out a plan of how we can go further from this point out. And from all of these discussions and this, like, discussions in closed circles, there's two things that came about. There's a new team for the Congress. That's the Schiedsstelle, or the arbitration board. You can read up on it on the help.ccc.de. It also introduces all the teams that for years have done a lot of work. The SEAD, there's all sorts of teams who do a lot of work for conflict resolution. Just read up on it on the page if you want to get informed. Please inform yourself for your sake and for others, for the people around you. Because if somebody next to you in Hall 3 is all of a sudden collapsing, it would be great to know what you should be doing next. Inform yourself. It's a great way. There's a lot of posters around informing you, please. And while we're on this subject of giving you information and rules, we can also maybe tell you off a little bit. Please remember our photo policy. If you don't know it, you can find it in many, many posters distributed. We have a particular team that is plastering these posters everywhere before manner. Before you take a picture, ask the people that are in the picture, that are visually recognizable in the picture, if it's okay for them. If it's a gigantic, massive picture where there's lots of people in it, maybe I don't want to talk to all of these. Maybe don't take that picture then. We understand that you want to take pictures. It looks great here. We are every time blown away by the aesthetics of this event, but please remember this policy. Yes. All right. So the moral swing was done. We can move on. I realized that whoever you talk to afterwards, we asked 100 people. It wasn't 100, but depending on who you ask about this event, people tell you completely different things about Congress, that you could come to the conclusion that they've been at different events. More like 5 than 2 stories. One person told me that her most Congress experience was that she brought a server and a friend of hers took it as an option to break into a server and came up to her afterwards and said to her, dude, we got to talk about this. And another person told me about the sandbox with the projector on top of it. I don't want to spoil this too much. You have to check it out. And she told me that thing and the person who created that thing and in miniature explained to me excitedly how this thing works at 3 a.m. in the night. That was, I mean, when else would you find time to do that? That was great. And a lot of people shared amazing, brilliant stories. It's about listening to talks, about doing talks together, learn from each other in this process, and have fun together. And there was another person that also told me that it's kind of about driving in the most crazy way through the halls and stop at all sorts of stopover and look at and get a drink at another booth, and then you kind of end back in your own assembly.
And a while ago, a friend told me that the exact time frame in which you can be sure where another person is at Congress is exactly 30 seconds. So if I were to leave, I would be able to tell that you've left for about 30 seconds, but then you might be in heaven getting your angel badge. You could be at the bar in Chaos West or in Hall 4 at the lock help desk. I wouldn't be able to tell. And I love this rule so much because I've been so desperately looking for people so many times and unable to locate them for days. It's at the times when I needed them most. But the beautiful thing is that I always found somebody else who could help me just as well, even though I hadn't been looking for them. And they helped me at least as much. And that's what makes Congress for me. Now, helpful people are one thing. I don't know how you feel. Maybe you're all very social people who love interacting with others at large groups, and that's no stress and no problem for you. But I know that some, or maybe even many of you, don't feel the same way. I remember my first Congress, not that long ago, in fact. And I met loads of nice people. I'm sure you know the feeling when you meet people who are so different from yourself that you learn new concepts and new ways of thinking, and it takes time to understand this. And I learned a lot from them because people always teach you things. They partly do that by simply living them, because they do things in a way that differs from your own, and you start to think, maybe I should try that as well. And I tried a lot of new things, all of them, of course, completely legal, and very few of them started at myself, because at my first Congress, I was busy looking around, feeling overwhelmed, being a bit amazed, but also being intimidated because it's a lot. The nice thing is people want to talk to you. That's how I got to know all those people all those years ago. They want to tell you about the hackerspace and what they do there, what they've been doing for the past year, what they brought with themselves. Some never want to stop talking. But seriously, they want to talk to you, and you hopefully want to talk to them too, because that's why we're here. The worst thing that could possibly happen to you is that somebody has no time. Nobody has died of that either. And if somebody drives past you on a sofa that's blinking and that has a cocktail bot in the back and looks robust enough to push aside the next police tank, then maybe stop them and ask them, hey, how did you build this? What gave you the idea? What other things, what inspired you? Because how many fuck-ups happened? What went wrong? Which is the best question you can possibly ask somebody. The day my sofa burnt, do it. Talk to people. Of course, if somebody sits behind their computer with headphones, then maybe take that very subtle hint. They might be busy, but in all other cases, talk to each other and create memories that you can take along with you. If you feel the same way that I do and you struggle to talk to people when you see something cool, then become an angel. It's the best way of getting to know people. Go to engelsystem.de, make an account, say hi at heaven, and look for a shift. It's not difficult, it doesn't hurt. And 2 hours later you might be checking people's wristbands, but you'll be doing so with a person you haven't met before and to whom you'll start talking. I met some of my best friends that way. It's an enormous help. And people walk past because and you'll get to know them as well, because nobody's in a particular hurry here. And you'll help volunteering. You'll get to see Congress from an entirely new perspective, and you help make Congress what it is. And this might be a good time to say thanks for all the angels that are here now and that have made all this possible. It wouldn't have happened without you.
Ja, komm, können wir mal machen. Ich meine, es steht ja noch aus.
I think
jedes Opening braucht die traditionelle Frage.
every opening needs the traditional question. Who of you is here for the first time?
Okay, das ist ziemlich
All right, that's quite a few. Welcome.
Schön, dass ihr hier seid.
Nice to see you. Good to be here.
Und ich bin auch echt ein bisschen neidisch auf euch.
And I'm a bit jealous of you,
Der Kongress ist was echt Besonderes.
because the first Congress is something really special. My first Congress was amazing because I was quite new in the community.
Das war mein erster Kongress. Es war mein
It was my first Congress, it was my first Chaos event, and I can't tell you how unprepared I came. I was struggling not to get lost at CCH, and when I arrived at the Hack Center in Hall 3, I felt the urge to just stand in the middle of the doorway and process what I was seeing. And it was everything at the same time, everywhere, and there was something there and there and there, and I couldn't stop being amazed and being fascinated, and thoughts ran through my head. I started asking myself, how did you end up here? Who are all these crazy people? And I did this until somebody came along and told me to get out of the way. I felt like a small child in a toy shop. But this feeling didn't stop for the entirety of my first Congress. There was something behind every corner that caused me to stop and wonder. And the year after that, I came back and thought I was prepared. You know what's going to happen. I've never been this wrong in my life. So it's been the same feeling essentially every year. Even though I helped build this event from the very first day and drive through these halls for weeks, every year is so exciting and so crazy, equally crazy as the year before. And something new happens that excites me and overwhelms me, like a small girl in a toy shop, especially because of all the things you bring. And that's the thing we want you to do. Go through these halls and talk to people and have them talk to you. Make new friendships and create new awesome things. Let's create memories that we can return to next year, and let us do that every year. Let's make our first Congress as incredible as the first one, and let us make memories that we want to remember forever. Have fun.